Hello again. This is Math 2233 coming to you from the College of DuPage. The title of this lecture is Course Specific Framework. And as always, I encourage you to be an active learner while watching this video. This video complements material previously shared. These things that were previously shared were common elements across all of my courses and are covered in this video. If you need to refer to this video again, please do so. If you haven't watched it yet, watch it now. The remainder of these comments, though, are in addition to those comments which cut across all of my courses. Our course is called Calculus 3, and this is the course description. Introduction to vectors and operations on vectors, geometry of space, cylindrical and spherical coordinate systems, vector functions with physics applications, arc length, curvature, multivariate functions, partial derivatives, multiple integrals and their applications, vector fields and their applications, line integrals and their applications, and Green's theorem in the plane. Time permitting, we may do enrichment material including Stokes' theorem and the divergence theorem. We have a bunch of goals and topics. Upon successful completion of this course, the student should be able to demonstrate the ability to perform operations involving algebra of vectors in 2 and 3 dimensions, compute the dot product and cross product and use them in projection and other applications. Use the tools of vector algebra to find equations of lines and planes, and use these tools to extract geometric information concerning curves and surfaces in 3 space. Identify and sketch surfaces in 3 dimensions using Cartesian, cylindrical, and spherical coordinates. Evaluate limits and find derivatives and integrals for vector-valued functions. Use vector analysis to determine projectile motion and 3-dimensional trajectories. Evaluate limits and partial derivatives for functions of more than one variable. Describe the geometric meaning of a partial derivative. Determine whether a multivariate function is differentiable. Demonstrate the ability to use a total differential to approximate changes and estimate error, and to use the appropriate form of the chain rule for multivariate functions. Evaluate directional derivatives and determine the equation of the tangent plane. Describe the geometric significance of gradient vector and discuss the relationship of it with respect to level curves and surfaces. Evaluate extreme values for constrained and unconstrained functions of 2 and 3 variables. Demonstrate the ability to set up and evaluate multiple integrals and use Cartesian, polar, and cylindrical and spherical coordinate systems. Use multiple integration to evaluate areas of planar regions, surface areas, and volumes of solids, centers of mass, and moments of inertia, and demonstrate the ability to change variables in multiple integrals by using the Jacobian. We'll more or less follow this outline. We'll talk about vectors and the geometry of space first. Then we'll talk about vector-valued functions and some of the terms and equations associated with those. We will study functions of several variables. We'll talk about partial derivatives, directional derivatives, and we'll do the same thing for multiple integrals. This is the textbook that is the reference textbook for the course. This is the same book that you used if you studied Calculus 1 and 2 at the College of DuPage. So it's the 14th edition of this, and we're going to cover chapters 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, portions of those anyway. And if there's time left, we'll do some of these optional things, including Stokes and divergence theorem. So this is the reference book. You should read it. I strive not to use examples from this textbook, and so reading those examples would be useful for you. Use the textbook. Now, I'm proud to say that teaching and learning continues even during an era of COVID-19. Grades are earned and grades are rendered, but we have to do things differently. This talks about the elements of COVID tradecraft that we'll have. First of all, our course is asynchronous, so you will be watching videos. Don't watch these videos like you watch kitten videos on YouTube. The way to watch these is to have pencil and paper in hand, pause and rewind the videos. Treat this like it is a lecture. You haven't really done your job unless you understand every equation, every calculation that is done. So, be an active learner. I communicate with you actually very frequently through announcements, and I send emails with these announcements. I save these announcements so you can refer back to them, and also this is kind of a journal of what we did in the course. These announcements are posted, but they're also emailed to your COD email. Stay engaged in the course. This is how much of our dialogue will happen. And help is available. I will have Zoom office hours in the morning and in the evening. Hours to be announced and addresses to be announced. We often will have GSG study sessions that are led by experienced peer tutors. We also have a dedicated math associate who also makes themselves available to you, and then there's the math assistance area that is open. Now these are useful for all students. If you're struggling, these are a means to become safe. If you're doing well, this is an opportunity to do better. The math department has some rules, and we will follow those rules. The math department says you cannot use calculators like this. I will let you use a calculator, but since our exams are going to be proctored, you'll be using a PC-based TI-35 scientific kind of calculator at the maximum. And so you're not going to be using this because this does integrals for you. You're going to be doing this. And another thing is there are no notes, so you're going to be memorizing formulas. These are math department rules, and we will adhere to these, and the proctors will understand these. When you're doing homework in the book, and homework does make you strong, I encourage you to adopt an adaptive odd homework methodology. Now here, I'm taking 40 to be the arbitrary number of points that are in a section. So doing every problem is ideal, and so if there were 40 problems in a perfect world, you would do 40. And if you can do this, that would be great. But it is okay if you want to do every odd problem, because the answers to the odd problems are in the book. That enables you to check them, and also the even and odd problems often are very similar to one another. So this is a very sweet spot. If you say, yes, but I really can't do that, then do every other odd, or every other odd, and so on. This means that it's sort of calibrated, but these are the problems you should focus on, and keeping up is extremely important. We will have low-stakes assessments. These are going to involve take-home protocols. That means that you can get help on these problems from the math assistance area, or perhaps otherwise from guided study groups. These problems will be a little bit more involved, not as routine. There will be due dates and submission protocols, and these will be enforced. We will be practicing the way we will turn things in for the exams. So you'll be posting things to Blackboard, not sending to my email. If you send them to my email, I didn't get them. You have to post them here. This will be where you're posting an answer sheet, and this is where you're posting your work. Now, so these are take-home protocols. They're not as routine, but the due dates and submission protocols, as I said, will be enforced. These are less at stake, but credit-bearing opportunities for you to improve your grade and practice necessary skills. We will have high-stakes assessments. I talk about these in the other video. There will be midterms and there will be finals. Now, our course is net. That means these are going to be asynchronous scheduled, and that means I will tell you at the beginning when you can make them, and at all possible, I encourage you to make these. But I realize that some people have jobs they can't call off, and so there will be accommodations, and every student will be accommodated, but you must tell me about the accommodations in advance. And then we will go with that, and accommodations will be made. There will be people from the testing center who are going to be proctoring these exams. We do have a process that works, and it involves a cell phone, Zoom, and a PC. And so you have to have those elements when you take the exam, but the exams are being taken with your safety in mind. And you're going to be putting the answer sheets in the assessment tab and uploading PDFs of your work, and there'll be rules for doing that as well. Often I run into situations where people feel that they have to do something dishonest. Follow the rules. The consequences can be grave. A 0 in the course or a 0 in on that exam. Either one is not something you want to encounter. So just play it straight. In closing, now more than ever, time is precious. Each day must count. Do the math. It will make you strong. And now more than ever, take care of yourself and of each other. God bless you all.